helps you identify winning patterns, and it can even predict deal success with 90% accuracy.
Wow.
So imagine having that level of insight, to guide your coaching and your strategy.
It's like having, a data-driven assistant, like whispering in your ear during every call, being like, hey, this is working. This isn't,
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
But it's not just about the AI, right?
Right. So on top of that, Meet Record also creates this searchable library of your sales calls. So you can, categorize these calls into folders for coaching, for onboarding, and even for inspiration.
Oh, wow.
And the cool thing is teams can actually save up to 75% of the time they would normally spend searching for call recordings.
Okay.
So think about, onboarding new reps or sharing best practices. It's right there at your fingertips.
It's like this curated repository of sales wisdom.
Exactly.
That you can just kind of tap into. Okay, cool. So definitely a tool worth exploring, I think, for any sales leader out there.
For sure.
Okay, so what else do we have that can help teams, communicate and stay connected more effectively?
Okay, well, let's talk about Slack.
Okay.
This is kind of the go-to platform for real-time messaging and collaboration.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's all about, creating those dedicated channels, whether that's for specific projects or teams or even clients.
Right.
And within those channels, you can share files, you can quote messages for context.
Yeah.
And, you can even use custom emojis to inject a little bit of personality into your communication.
Yeah, I'm curious, though, while I know Slack is great for, quick communication, is there a risk of it, becoming too much?
Yeah.
Can you imagine those constant notifications?
Okay.
Especially for sales teams that are already juggling, multiple deals and clients.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really important point. Any tool, Slack really needs to be used strategically.
Right.
So setting those clear guidelines for communication, utilizing features like do not disturb and thread organization, and just encouraging a culture of mindful communication can really help prevent that overload.
Yeah.
It's about finding that right balance.
Yeah, it's about harnessing the power of the tool without letting it, control you.
Exactly.
Speaking of powerful tools, what about video conferencing?
Yes.
That's become so essential, especially with the rise of remote and hybrid work.
Absolutely. And for reliable and high-quality video conferencing, we have Zoom.
Okay.
And what I think sets Zoom apart is its resilience.
Okay.
So, even with weaker internet connections, it can still maintain that video quality.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah. And it's also packed with features, things like video recording, screen sharing, real-time transcriptions, and even a whiteboard feature that allows you to do collaborative brainstorming and note-taking during the call.
Yeah, I can see that being so valuable for sales presentations, product demos, even just internal team meetings. It's really about bringing that visual element to remote collaboration.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered tools for communication meetings.
Yes.
But what about managing projects and keeping everybody on track?
Right.
I mean, especially for sales teams, that can be a huge challenge.
Absolutely. Keeping everyone organized and aligned is super important, especially when you're dealing with all those, deals and deadlines. Right. And that's where tools like Asana and Trello come in.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard great things about both of those. Can you kind of break down, what the key differences are and when you might choose one over the other?
Yeah, so Asana is like a powerhouse for collaborative project management. So you can think of it as your central hub for managing all your tasks, tracking progress, keeping that communication flowing.
Right.
It's really great for teams that, love structure and need that detailed organization. Yeah. You can create those shared to-do lists, assign tasks, set deadlines, and then you can visualize that progress with these intuitive dashboards.
So it's almost like having a virtual project manager, keeping everyone on track and accountable.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about Trello then?
Yeah.
How does it approach project management differently?
So Trello is all about visual clarity and flexibility. Okay. So if you can imagine a virtual whiteboard filled with all these digital sticky notes that represent different tasks.
Right.
And you can organize those notes into columns that represent the different stages of a project or even your sales pipeline.
Right.
So it's really intuitive and easy to use, especially for those teams that are more visually oriented.
I can see that being really appealing to sales teams.
Yeah.
especially when you're managing those, more complex deals with all the different stakeholders. Having that visual overview can really help to keep everyone on the same page.
Absolutely.
But, beyond just like managing tasks, what about those, creative brainstorming sessions or, collaborative planning phases?
Yeah.
Are there tools out there that kind of support, that free-flowing ideation?
For sure. And for that visual collaboration and brainstorming, Miro is an excellent choice.
Okay.
It's basically like a giant online whiteboard where teams can brainstorm ideas, plan projects, and even conduct workshops remotely.
Cool.
And what's cool is you can add text images, sticky notes,
right,
and you can even use some of their pre-built templates to kind of jumpstart your sessions.
So it's like having a virtual war room, where everyone can kind of contribute their ideas and build on each other's thoughts.
Yeah, and what I think is so valuable about this for sales teams is when they're, developing new strategies or tackling those really challenging client problems, it gives them that space to do it together. And Miro even has some cool features like Talk Track, which allows you to record, audio explanations directly onto the board.
Oh, that's cool.
And Miro AI, which can actually generate summaries of your brainstorming sessions.
So it's really about like capturing those creative sparks and making sure that, those insights don't get lost.
Exactly. And especially when you're working remotely, you can't always have those, spontaneous hallway conversations.
Yeah.
You have to have a tool to help facilitate that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've covered tools for communication meetings, project management, brainstorming.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Sure.
Even with the best tools, like staying organized and on top of everything,
it's hard.
Can be a struggle, right?
Yeah.
So what about, those essential, like personal productivity tools?
Right. Well, for those of us who, need a little bit of extra help staying on top of our tasks and commitments, we have tools like Calendly and Todoist.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Calendly has been like a lifesaver for me. It's totally transformed the way that I schedule meetings.
Yeah.
Can you explain kind of how it works?
Sure.
And why it's so valuable, for those busy sales professionals out there?
Calendly basically just eliminates all of that back and forth with emails and phone calls that, we used to do to schedule meetings.
Yeah.
So, you simply set your availability preferences, share your Calendly link, and then people can book time with you based on your real-time availability.
Right.
And it even integrates with your calendar and sends automated reminders.
Oh, wow.
So it takes all the guesswork out of it.
It's a huge time saver. And it prevents, those embarrassing double bookings. What about Todoist then? How does that help individuals, stay organized and productive?
So Todoist is a task management app that helps you capture and organize all your to-dos, set deadlines, prioritize your work.
Yeah.
You can create projects, subtasks, recurring deadlines, and you can even collaborate with others on shared lists.
Okay.
So it's really just a great way to stay focused and make sure that nothing slips through the cracks.
It's like having a personal assistant.
Yeah.
Just keeping track of all of your commitments.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a wide range of tools.
We have.
From communication platforms to project management systems, even personal productivity apps.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
And talk about a tool that is essential for any sales team that's working with sensitive data, and that's 1Password.
Yes, security is paramount, especially when you're dealing with, customer information and confidential business data. So 1Password is a password manager that allows you to store all of your passwords, your credit card details, any other sensitive information securely in an encrypted vault.
So it's like having, a digital safe for all of your, valuable information.
Exactly.
But beyond just storing passwords, what makes 1Password particularly valuable for sales teams?
So 1Password allows you to create shared vaults for teams.
Okay.
So you can easily and securely share passwords for, important accounts like your CRM, social media platforms, things like that.
Right.
And it also has features like a security audit
Uh-huh.
that can alert you to weak or duplicate passwords,
Oh, that's great.
and two-factor authentication,
Okay.
which, just adds that extra layer of security
Right.
to your accounts.
So that peace of mind is invaluable, I think.
Absolutely.
Especially in today's world where, we have all these cybersecurity threats.
Right. Seems like every day there's a new one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've explored a wide range of tools here
We have.
that can really empower sales teams to collaborate more effectively, manage their work efficiently,
Yes.
and keep their data secure.
For sure.
But with so many options out there, like, how does a sales leader actually go about choosing
Right.
the right tools for their team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
The right tool really depends on your team's specific needs, the challenges that they're facing, and, their workflow.
Okay, so what are some of the key considerations
Yeah.
that sales leaders should keep in mind, when they're evaluating these different tools?
So I think the first thing you need to do is you really need to consider your team's pain points.
Okay.
So what are the biggest obstacles to collaboration? Are they struggling with, those communication breakdowns?
Right.
Are they having difficulty managing projects? Once you've identified those key challenges, then you can start to look for tools
Right.
that address those specific needs.
So it's about starting with the problem, not the solution.
Exactly.
Don't just jump on, the latest trendy tool without first understanding how it aligns with your team's specific needs.
For sure.
Okay, what else should sales leaders be thinking about?
Well, you should also think about, your team's tech savviness
Okay.
and preferences. Some teams might be comfortable with a more, complex platform,
Right.
like Asana, while others might prefer a simpler, more visual tool like Trello. So the key is to choose a tool that your team will actually use and enjoy working with.
So ease of use is really crucial.
It is.
There's nothing more frustrating than, trying to implement this tool.
Right.
And
It's clunky and it creates more work than it saves.
Exactly. And, along those same lines, you also want to think about integration with your existing systems.
Yeah.
Integration's a big one.
It is. So, look for tools that integrate seamlessly with your CRM, your email platform, your marketing automation tools, and any other, essential systems that your team relies on.
So it's about creating that interconnected ecosystem where, the information is flowing smoothly between the systems. Okay. What about security?
Right.
That's paramount, especially when you're dealing with, all that sensitive customer data.
Absolutely. Security is non-negotiable.
Right.
So when you're evaluating tools, carefully review their security features, their protocols. Look for features like encryption, two-factor authentication, data backup, and recovery. And honestly, don't hesitate to ask the vendors specific questions about their security practices and their compliance with industry standards.
Absolutely. It's about protecting your data and protecting your customers' trust.
For sure.
Okay, so what about pricing?
Right.
These tools can range from like free basic plans to, enterprise level solutions.
Yeah.
So how do you know, what's worth the investment?
Right. Well, when you're considering pricing,
Yeah.
I think you really need to think about that value proposition.
Okay.
So does the tool offer the features that you need to address your specific pain points?
Right.
Does it scale with your team's growth? And, most importantly, will it ultimately help you generate more revenue than it costs?
So it's not just about the upfront cost.
Right.
It's about, what is that potential return on investment?
Exactly.
And sometimes, investing in a more robust solution with, those advanced features or dedicated support can pay off, significantly in the long run.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we've talked about, the key considerations for choosing the right tools.
Yeah.
But tools are just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right.
What about the human element? How do you actually foster a truly collaborative culture within your sales team?
That's where leadership comes in.
Okay.
Creating a collaborative culture really requires a shift in mindset and a commitment from, everyone on the team.
Yeah.
But it has to start with the leaders.
So how do leaders set the stage for collaboration then?
Yeah.
What are some practical steps that they can take?
Well, I think, the first thing is to encourage open communication and knowledge sharing.
Okay.
So create a safe space where team members, feel comfortable asking questions, sharing ideas, offering support.
Right.
Celebrate wins together.
Yeah.
Learn from mistakes collectively.
Yeah.
Collaboration is a team sport.
It's about creating that culture where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute.
Absolutely.
What are some other ways that leaders can foster collaboration?
Well, I think, the biggest thing is to lead by example. So actively engage in those collaborative activities. Recognize and reward collaborative behaviors.
Yeah.
And foster that culture of, continuous learning and improvement.
So don't just talk the talk.
Right.
Walk the walk.
Exactly.
Are there any other kind of creative ways to, promote collaboration in sales teams?
Sure, organize team building activities.
Okay.
Host brainstorming sessions. Encourage cross-functional collaboration. The more you can break down those silos and foster those connections, the stronger, your team's collaborative muscle will become.
So it's about, creating opportunities for people to connect, share ideas, and learn from each other.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this segment.
We have.
From exploring, specific tools to discussing how to foster that collaborative culture. Nova, before we wrap up, this part of our deep dive, are there any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
I think, it's important to remember that building a truly collaborative culture takes time and it takes effort.
Yeah.
And, it's an ongoing journey.
Right.
It's not a destination. So be patient, be persistent.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment and adapt along the way.
That's such great advice. It really is about, embracing the journey and continuously evolving.
Exactly.
Okay, folks, we've covered a lot of ground in this segment.
We have.
From choosing the right tools to fostering that collaborative culture. Now let's move on to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Where we'll kind of distill some of those key takeaways and actionable steps that you can implement right away. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here exploring these sales collaboration tools and how they can really transform the way that your team performs.
For sure.
But I think, let's be honest, it can feel overwhelming, right?
It can.
There's so much out there.
Yeah.
So, Nova, what is like the one thing our listeners should do after this deep dive to kind of get started on the right track?
I would say take a deep breath.
Okay.
And just start with an honest assessment of your current sales process. So, where are the bottlenecks?
Okay.
Are your teams struggling to share information effectively?
Right.
Are there, consistent communication breakdowns that are slowing down deals?
Yeah.
Really pinpoint those pain points because that's where the right tools can really have the biggest impact.
So it's about, identifying those areas where collaboration is breaking down, not just chasing the shiny new tool.
Exactly.
Okay, so once you have that clarity, what's like a practical next step?
Talk to your team.
Okay.
Seriously, just have a conversation. Ask them, what's working, what's frustrating, and, what would make their lives easier.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised by the simple solutions that emerge.
Yeah, sometimes I think, the most valuable insights come from the people on the front lines.
Absolutely.
They're the ones who are actually living and breathing these challenges every single day.
Every day.
So beyond those initial steps, what are some key takeaways that our listeners should remember as they kind of embark on this journey of enhancing sales collaboration?
So I think, first and foremost, remember that technology is an enabler.
Right.
It's not a magic bullet.
Right.
The real magic happens when you combine those right tools with a culture of collaboration, open communication, and shared goals.
It's about people first.
Yes.
Technology second.
Exactly.
Okay. What else?
Don't be afraid to experiment. There is no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
So, try different tools, explore various features, and see what resonates with your team's workflow and preferences.
It's an iterative process, just like any aspect of sales and leadership.
For sure.
So what's the most important thing, I guess, for sales leaders to keep in mind as they navigate this, evolving landscape of collaboration tools?
I would say focus on the value.
Okay.
So, does the tool solve a real problem?
Mm-hmm.
Does it help your team work smarter, not harder?
Right.
And does it ultimately contribute to, a better customer
Yeah.
experience and drive those business results?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes,
Yeah.
then you're on the right track.
It's about choosing tools that empower your team, to do their best work.
Yes.
And deliver exceptional value to your customers.
Absolutely.
Well, Nova, this has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
Thank you so much for sharing, your expertise and insights
Of course. Thanks for having me.
with our listeners.
It was my pleasure.
And to our amazing listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us. We
Yeah.
hope that this deep dive has, equipped you with the knowledge and the inspiration
Mm-hmm.
to transform your sales teams into, these collaborative powerhouses.
Absolutely.
So until next time, keep those deals flowing
Yes,
and keep those collaborative spirits high.
for sure.